Well, the vows that you make are the important part of your marriage, because they're promises that you're making before God as a witness to your wife, and your wife is making those same vows to you. They're a binding agreement. It's like any contract. We talk about a marriage covenant, but the same word is marriage contract. It's the same word in Hebrew. And we have to bear in mind that a contract or a covenant has stipulations which can break that covenant or that contract if you don't keep them. It takes a great deal to break a marriage, but it's those vows that you take which are the basis of divorce. I find it quite sobering that at a Jewish wedding you'll have the marriage contract read out, and in the days when the marriage contract had those stipulations from the Old Testament that you have to provide food and clothing and love for your spouse and be faithful to them, reading out what would happen as well if you broke those vows. It says that so much money would be returned, and very clearly laid out what would happen. It was a very serious thing when he took those vows. Adultery is a terrible, terrible marriage breaker, but so is physical abuse, so is emotional haranguement every day, so is neglecting food and clothing. One of the early Christian fathers, he was looking at the teaching of Jesus on divorce. By the time when they were already thinking, well, there was only divorce for adultery, he said, but what if your wife is poisoning you? Can you not divorce her if she's poisoning you? And because the church had forgotten this Old Testament teaching, they didn't realise that yes, God does allow divorce for times when there is neglect and abuse, and God knows human sinfulness, and he created a good law by which people could be protected.
So how important is the Old Testament in interpreting the New Testament?
Well, Jesus regarded the Old Testament as absolutely key. Of course, it doesn't all apply to us, and Jesus has fulfilled so much of the ceremonial law in the Old Testament.
Well, that concludes our YouTube interview. Thank you for your time, David. And if people need to find more information about your research, where would they go?
Well, go to the web, of course. That's probably where you are right now. There's so much I can't say. There's so many details which I haven't covered. I've covered a great deal in this academic book, Divorce and Remarriage in the Bible. Although I've written it for academics, every bit of Hebrew and Greek I've translated, so it's easy to read by anyone with a bit of intelligence. But if you don't have time to read that, I've also written a Pew version, if you like, Divorce and Remarriage in the Church. And here I go through the same sort of details that are in the academic work to summarise the findings, and also apply them much more to the pastoral situation and to individuals. And one interesting section is a whole set of emails at the back of questions that people have asked and the sort of answers that apply to them. So real life being addressed there.